Hey, Sarah the Metal Theologian. It's kind of been a while, but I don't know. I don't feel like I have anything great to say tonight either, so I'm just turning on the camera and we'll see where it goes, right? So, one thing I did want to talk about though, it's got to be right at the beginning, or else I'll fucking forget by the time I get around to it, right? So this is one of those records. I've still been on the stoner rock kick, so I'll just warn you right now. That's where we're gonna end up. But like, there's certain metal records that have a reputation, and this is one of the ones that's sort of, it's one of the Canadian records that seems to be pretty well respected, and it seemed to be like sort of, like above more highly regarded than like Aggressor, but not as highly as like a Razor or something like that, right? So we've been on my radar for a long time. This came up cheap, so I had to go for it. And this is Dissection from Canada. And God, it's such a stupid fucking cover, right? But here's the thing. Here's why I wanted to sort of talk about this, because it's really fun. Because I put this on, and I actually hadn't heard this before, right? I just wanted to check it out like this. I usually don't. If it's a record like this, I don't need to sample it ahead of time. I'll just get it and figure out what to do with it later. Because the fact is, if I hate it and I sell this, I can probably make a profit if I play my cards right. So why not just have more fun? So my first impression of this band, though, is the point. I thought these guys were from Ontario, by the way. And they're actually French-Canadian, and Chromie D was telling me about them. I just didn't make the connection somehow. First riff, right? I know that fucking riff. That's a fucking Outbreak riff. It's always fun to like find little things like that where a band borrowed. I mean, this is probably the same guy, right? They just took the riff from one band to the other the same way. I'll just think of an example when I forgot this. Like the whole deal with the Child Saint song and Megadeth. I assume everyone knows that story, which is probably stupid of me, but the circles I run in, that's kind of old news. But this one I wasn't aware of. So yeah, this is Final Genocide. First song on that. And just since y'all aren't inside my head, and I can't assume that you all know how Mein Kampf by Outbreak goes, we're going to refresh your memory. But I love Outbreak. In case y'all don't remember, Master Stroke by Outbreak was my number 2 record of 1986. Of the 2 years where I've actually done a top 10, 84 and 86. They got the number 2 spot one of the years. And the one that beat them, I should make you go watch the fucking video, actually. But here's the thing, it doesn't matter what's on the list, you know what I mean? What's interesting is what people say about them. That's why those lists are fun. It's not because anyone's surprised that someone put... Well, for 86, the number 1 slot was Rain and Blood. So there you go. Yeah, actually, speaking of obvious shit, I sort of went on a tiny little mini AC/DC kicklet this morning. Like, I don't know if I could really call it a kick if it was just for a couple hours, but it lasted for 3 full LPs. And, we're going to have to talk about some of that shit in a minute, I suppose. But it's funny because, AC/DC is one of those bands that, especially the early records, which were always kind of my favorites anyway. They're so a part of me that I just take them for granted, Hear this? It's a little slower. It's not the same key. Shit like that is part of why it's fun to collect records, when you find shit like that. Sort of like, speaking of Slayer, sort of like that little Black Magic quote on the Quo Vadis record and shit like that. I think that's more interesting than a cover, Oh, and I didn't even show the fucking cover, because of course if you're watching this, of course you're an Outbreak fan, right? Yeah, Master Stroke by Outbreak. The fucking Quebecois, like, crypto Nazis. These fucking names, man. Kaiser Fist. That's one of the best stage names ever, man. Alright. Yeah, so you know what? Oh, well, actually, let's talk about the obvious shit. Let's hype a stoner band, and then I'll come back to the obvious shit. You know who fucking rules? I am not kidding. Fucking Soldati. In fact, I actually was listening to this one. Well, I played this one a little bit earlier today. Shit, it's funny. I have a similar cover from the top. This one's really good too by Pop Here, but these guys aren't as good as Soldati. Oh, it's right in front. Of course it's right in front because I was just playing it. In fact, I didn't even put it away because I only got through one side, so... There's the actual vinyl right there. Look, it's purple. You want to see? Now, here's the thing. I don't think anybody gives a shit about purple vinyl at this point. But, there's this whole contingent of guys, especially guys closer to my age on YouTube, who, complain about, how everything's uncolored vinyl now, and so, they just like the regular black shit. So what we're going to do here is we're going to take a look at this record, and we're going to think about them molding. That was kind of fun, wasn't it? I'm picturing Steve, Harmless Rebel, and I've got to picture Greeno. Although I know Greeno well enough that he probably means it. He does a few weird things as collector that don't completely make sense to me. But I suppose we all do that too, Actually, what are something I was thinking about? Something that's kind of a fucked up thing to think about? Is the last few records that my family's gonna get in the mail when I die. This fucking record rules too. This is another one by Killed. I was hyping these guys in my last video too. Now it's funny because this record is great. Actually, I got this from Fuzz Trip, okay? Go spend lots of money over at Fuzz Trip because the dude's solid and he has all this great shit. Yeah, he said this cover was really good and there's just a tiny little picture I couldn't see, but when I really got a good look at it, it's fucking awesome, man. And a lot of times with the gatefold, I kind of go, you had the budget for a gatefold, man. That shit's expensive. Maybe you're kind of getting a little too big for your britches. But if you're doing shit like this with it, man, I am all in. Anyway, you can't see it on the thing. You'll have to go look it up. But Killed, fucking Swedish band, I'm pretty sure. It might be Danish, but I think they're Swedish. Fuck, I do the same thing every time I talk about this goddamn band. Anyway, the first record has a real sort of Stooges vibe to it, which just trips me out because these guys are fundamentally like a space rock band, This one doesn't have that somehow, and it's weird because there's no big difference about it where you're like, oh, they changed this and therefore it's just that feeling just isn't there anymore, that sort of vibe. The other whole album all kind of sounded like the song 1970 by the Stooges, and I mean that in a good way, okay? I gotta put on that Soldati record now, I can't wait anymore. But I do love Outbreak. I just haven't been listening to a lot of metal. Actually, it's a testament to this Dissection record, too, because when that one came in, I've been listening to just stoner shit, right? It's funny, because I spent so many years not really wanting to listen to anything after 1990, and now if I hear about a band and it's sounds like it might be cool, and I look them up and they're older than 2010, I kind of go I just want the new shit, because I'm so enamored with this whole just the whole phenomenon, just that all this shit exists, it's I kind of knew it on some level, I've never been one of those guys who's been oh, no one's making good music anymore, because that's just obviously bullshit, you know what I mean? If that's how you feel, I mean, fine, I'm not going to fault anyone for listening to old shit. I only listen to old shit a lot of the time. But that's the point, actually, is that even though I only listen to old shit, now that I've sort of gotten into the newer shit, it's I'm totally... Yeah, this is Soldati. Wow. And actually, it's this one. My ankle's still fucked up, so I'm sort of rolling around and groaning. It's just old guy shit, so... Yeah, this fucking record, man. It is so good. Zonk Man. Bananas. Soldati. And of course they're from Argentina, by the way. Two stoner bands, one's from Sweden, one's from Argentina. Always, man. Like, even when I think they're not like this one, I don't remember if I talked about this one last time. This is another one that's fucking great. Actually, speaking of the Zonk Man, he was hyping this record, and he was right. Fucking Graveyard, this is good. And I actually already had this, but I sort of got it at the end of a kick, and it didn't really hit me right, and I sort of went, man, filed it away and forgot about it. And then he was talking about it, and I was like, I think I might have that record, and I went and pulled it out, and put it on. I was like, god damn, is that good. No, but this one, man, I thought these guys were like Polish or something like that, this band Ambassador. And I put it on, and it's fucking great. And then I noticed they're singing in Spanish, and I'm like, let me guess. It's probably like the same like 5 guys or something like that on all these Argentine records. But dude, it's so good, man. Ambassador, and look at that great cover. It's not showing up very well in the camera because of the glare. But just let your imagination fill in the rest of that because it's just so cool, man. Man, I'm 11 minutes in. I haven't even had my drink yet. I guess that I guess you don't have to worry about whether I have something to talk about. This record I didn't love. Time Dwellers. I'm going to play it a couple more times before I decide, but it looks really cool, doesn't it? It's almost a little bit too like straight rock, and it's kind of not hard enough as part of it either. Like, there's some really mellow parts in this, and some really like, you know, singing parts, you know, and like when I'm in the mood for a band like what are they called, Mount Atlas or something like that, that band with the real like AOR singer in front of that like sort of stoner rock band, which is great. Like, when I'm sort of in the mood for that sort of thing, that'd probably be the time to revisit this one. Because it didn't strike me right. So I want to sort of acknowledge it and say I didn't love it. But it's an interesting record. I'm going to listen to it some more before it gets filed away. But yeah, man, this morning I was like, God, I have Dirty Deeds in my head. The song. And I was like, shit, man, I actually haven't listened to that in a while, so I'm going to pull that shit out. I pulled it out and I put it on and I was like, God, this is good, man. And it's funny because I've been in this band since I was like 12 years old, you know? But I actually bought this at the first record show I ever went to. I think I was 18. I might have been 17 still. But, you know, of course, I'm at a record show. What's the first thing I'm going to look for is like the AC/DC record I'm missing. And that was the Australian Dirty Deeds. So, what a great band, man. This shit is just so good. And you know what's funny is, I mean, I really said it earlier in the video, this shit is so much a part of me that I just forget about it, you know what I mean? In a way, it's easier for me to listen to the Brian Johnson shit now, too. Even though, like, when I was, like, 12 and into it, I played the shit out of that stuff, too. But, like, after that, like, by the time I was, like, you know, by the time I got seriously into metal, I kind of forgot about that shit for a long time. So in a way, that stuff sounds fresher to me now. But that's it. These are just like so deep in my psyche or whatever that. Yeah, this is the very first version of "Baby Please Don't Go" that I ever heard. Big Bill Brunzi's song, obviously. But I didn't even have this yet. I don't think I had a. Either I had a tape of this off of a friend's brother, or I had already visited the States, because we visited once when I was living in Germany, and I went to like a Camelot and found a copy of that 74 Jailbreak record, and I was like, oh, holy shit, you know? Yeah, man. Awesome records. Then I just pulled out TNT, too. What a waste of Gateful. I mean, AC/DC, there are a lot of things to love about AC/DC, but their cover design isn't that high on the list. What a fucking waste of a Gateful. That was the 70s, man. Same thing on Let There Be Rock too on the Australian one. I didn't pull that one out because I reach for that one more often than these really early ones that are a lot more sort of boogie, you know, and really kind of more childish, these records, you know. But in a way, that's exactly what makes these three records in particular so special, you know. The fucking first three AC/DCs. Like, by Let There Be Rock, even though they still kind of have some of that goofy edge, they really sound like a mature band in a way that they don't not sound on these, but they don't affirmatively sound like they do on Let There Be Rock and Power Age, and, you know, especially once, you know, Mutt Lange started producing them, right? So, yeah, man, still a really important band to me. A band that, you know, is maybe kind of easy to make fun of or whatever, but just, no shit, a fucking fantastic, great band. Made a lot of great records. So I kind of wasn't done with the AC/DC vibe yet, but like, I those were the ones I wanted to hear, right? I didn't want to listen to Let There Be Rock because it's like a different beat. I mean, I just told you why, right? So I was like, what's the closest thing I can pull out? And I was like, I don't know if it's the closest thing, but I haven't played this in a while. Yeah. And man, the only song off this that I really know, like from when I sort of liked Aerosmith in my early teens, because I kind of just rediscovered Aerosmith like maybe 2 or 3 years ago, maybe 5 years ago now. But Aerosmith is kind of a new band to me. For someone who's been collecting as long as I have, Aerosmith is a new band to me. So yeah, so the only one on this that I know is that cover of Remember Walking in the Sand. Shout out to Shadow Morton. And actually I was thinking the Shangri-Las are really kind of underrated in a way. Because their hits were real fucking bangers, you know? Anyway, this isn't one of those records where I sort of know them and I sort of associate with them, because even that one song isn't like such an Aerosmith classic, you know what I mean? I really like their version of it. Yeah. And I heard this one before I ever heard the Shangri-Las. I don't know, man. Scratch the Itch, just a really good rock and roll record, man. And so is this one, you know? Like, these are not heavy metal records by the standards of 1984, you know? But for like 1977, when this came out, this is a hard rocker, man. And the songs are good. And it's a fun listen, you know what I mean? And the thing that, in my head, Aerosmith is always just a little bit more in a way that puts them where David Lee Roth takes Van Halen, which is a big part of why I don't really like Van Halen. You know what I mean? I shit on Van Halen a lot because I think it's fun to shit on Van Halen because they're popular. But if I really boil it down, I mean, I think Eddie Van Halen is a prick. But, his guitar shit and like all that flash wouldn't stop me from liking the band if it weren't also David Lee Roth there with all that fucking vaudeville shit that I'm just not buying, you know what I mean? Like I think Eat 'Em and Smile might be one of the most honest records ever made, you know what I mean? Because even though you knew from Crazy from the Heat and the covers that he picked there that like David Lee Roth had shit taste in music, most musicians have shit taste in music. You know, that's just, in a lifetime of collecting, that's one of the observations that I've made, is musicians almost always have really shitty taste in music. Yeah, that's something that makes Metallica really sort of stand out, because they would pick these fucking fantastic covers and people go, holy shit, and like they get all this credit. It's because look at the fucking dog shit covers Anthrax and Megadeth were picking in the 80s. Metallica's picking fucking Blitzkrieg and fucking, I mean, obviously the Diamond Head shit, but then like The Weight by Killing Joke. I mean, that's a great choice, right? And fucking, what does Anthrax pick? God Save the Queen. What does Megadeth pick? These boots are made for walking. And then do Anarchy in UK and stick it in the middle of the record. So they're doing stupid shit like that. And Metallica, they just seem like fucking gods. You know what I mean? Like, they know what's up. That's because they do, because they have good taste. But like, they're rare, you know? Anyway, where the fuck was I going with that? Yeah, so Eat 'Em and Smile, though. They, yeah. You could tell that he had shitty taste in music from Crazy from the Heat. But Eat 'Em and Smile, like Tobacco Road, well, Just a Gigolo was really it, actually. That was on Crazy from the Heat, wasn't it? I don't know. I could go back and forth on this all day, man. But the point is, David Lee Roth told us exactly who he is. And to the degree that you dig that or don't dig that, you are just taking or leaving what David Lee Roth has to offer. And I am not buying it. But I kind of get it. You know what I mean? But I really don't fucking like Van Halen because I can't handle it, dude. So, yeah. Fair Warning is probably Van Halen's best album. I have a soft spot for Van Halen, too. See, I think about these things, but if I'm going to shit on a band, I want to be able to do it thoroughly, right? And, like, with a lot of thought put into why I think the band sucks. DOA is a really good song, though. You know what else is a good song? Is fucking House of Pain off 1984. That's a really fucking good song. I think that's like a really early one that they didn't get around to recording for like an album until that album. But that's a fucking, talk about a fucking sleeper of a song on a otherwise generally overrated record, you know? Alright, yeah, so I listened to 2 Aerosmith records and I was like, okay, I'm gonna sort of like lose the plot here if I don't get back to my stoner shit. Here's one that I got, since I always laud these records so much. Actually, here's one that I've been listening to some of the more rock and roll-y ones, sort of spacier still, but basically I've been listening to Argonauta shit instead of K2 shit, okay? I'll just sum it up with that. These guys, great stoner band, but there's something about them that vibes out like a fucking New Hormones band. You know, like the, that Manchester label that put out that Buzzcocks 45, and they have like the Diagram Brothers and Ludus, and, I think they did some Eric Random shit, but that kind of shit. I mean, it's kind of lesser known, but it's not that specifically. It's something similar to that this reminds me of. It's especially the singer. But I really dig this record anyway. At first listen, I was like, oh, that kind of just sounds a little bit more like just a rock and roll record than I wanted it to. Then I listened to it again, and I was like, no, I was wrong. It's fucking fantastic. So. This one, I mean, with that cover, you know I wanted to love it. I mean, do I have to say why I bought this record? I mean, Jesus Christ. I mean, even the font is well chosen, right? But, yeah, these guys are a little too much just like a straight ahead, like, hard rock band. And here's the thing about Sunzar, is, in contrast with Temple of Deimos, who do have this sort of weird, like, English, 80s underground new wave sound, Sunzar has this way of using, like, these sort of 90s idioms, especially the singer, actually. I really don't like the singer. That's a big part of it. He kind of has, he doesn't have, like, that really pugnacious, like, Phil Anselmo sound quite. But he goes close enough to that, like in that direction. And coupled with just some of the guitar licks and that sort of thing. I mean, you probably know what I'm talking about. There's sort of the idioms that it leans on are idioms that I don't like as much in this sort of music. And so it doesn't really hook me there. And you know what it is they're not really doing anything wrong. It's just not really my taste. You know what I mean? I've said it 100 times on this channel. There's certain musical idioms I like more than others. You know what I mean? I was just talking a minute ago. I didn't use the word, but I was talking a minute ago about Van Halen uses a lot of idioms. That band uses these idioms that I don't care for, right? So, I just played this one earlier today, too, by the way. For, like, my classic rock kick. This is my favorite UFO record, by the way. If you're playing a trivia game and the question is, what is the metal theologian's favorite UFO record? You got the answer. What else do I have to talk about? I gotta put something on to listen to for one thing. Let's hype Killed a little more, because I really like this fucking band a lot. I've been going 25 minutes, ready to hang it up. I'm still always afraid that my fucking, my phone will start crapping out if I let the thing run too long, because it did that to me a couple times and kind of dicked me over on my videos, so. Oh well, luxury problems, right? It does have a little bit of that Stooges vibe. Like, that scream was kind of an Iggy scream, you know? And it's kind of still there in the guitar sound, you know? If you're not sitting in the living room and you didn't just listen to the other one, it's probably going to make sense. But it's still interesting because they lost a lot of the specific aspect of their sound without obviously changing anything else. And they're good in both forms, too. It's just a really interesting progression because when I think about how bands develop and evolve, I don't really tend to think about how that relates to the Stooges. So what we talk about today, just a bunch of bullshit. Yeah, I've been playing a lot of the same records, man. Shit I've sitting here is still the same shit I had sitting here 2 videos. So I'm just playing it over and over again. Here's another one that I haven't fallen in love with. I was curious about this Greek band, Naxatros, I think they're called. They're good. He's kicking off with a song called Oort Cloud. And you're definitely getting off on the right foot with me. And, you know, I like this record. It's probably like a solid 10 out of, or not 10, a 7 out of 10. Like the sort of 7 out of 10 where you're like, that's a really good record. I'm going to listen to that record every so often and really enjoy it, you know? But not like a great record that blows your mind. That's a weird place to end a video, but I really am worried about these things getting fucked up. So, and I'm out of things to say, so thank you for watching. I always appreciate it. And I'll reply to comments. Take care.